It was fireworks in Parliament when MPs debated the report of the Constitutional Parliamentary and Legal Affairs Committee on the controversial anti-gay bill. It started off on a very cordial note with MPs on both sides agreeing that this controversial bill must be passed into law. We first heard from the MP for Asante Achem North, Andy Apia Kubi, who actually said all 275 MPs in Parliament supported the bill.
The law, as we have it now, prescribes unnatural carnal knowledge without even adding anything. So there is nothing also before us requesting of us to pass a law to allow that so far. Mr. Speaker, I'm very happy that this House of 275 members all endorsed this bill. And we are religiously going to support the bill to pass. I am speaking to the House and supporting the bill and also indicating the support of all our members because our membership as Ghanaians, all Ghanaians support this bill.
We then heard from the Speaker who threw a challenge to all MPs on the floor to stand up if they were against this anti-LGBTQ bill.
Opportunity to those who are against to speak. All members are in support of the bill.
Well, no one stood up. No one in Parliament stood up in opposition to the bill. It was then that we heard from former Minority Chief Whip, Honorable Muntaka Mubarak, who described the advocacy of LGBTQ as madness, and also the first Deputy Speaker, who said that the constitutional and the national life of Ghana does not support those activities.
It is very worrying that those who had been canvassing for this, for lack of a better word, madness to be allowed to continue in our country are not averting to their minds to three things. And I will always say the first thing, regardless of which other human being you are, there's something you believe. Whatever you believe, whether you are a Christian, you are a Muslim, you are a Buddhist, you are a pagan, you believe in something. What has your scripture said about this? They were threatening the lack of moral screening, Sam George and many of us who were speaking about visas to travel to their country. The Speaker, we have made them look as if going to their country is about life. The Speaker, if we were to do reciprocity, to do reciprocal of what they are doing, so that they will not also be able to come into our country. Mr. Speaker, we will see those who suffer most.
Promotion of proper human sexual rights and Ghanaian family values. My friend, the ranking member, has quoted our constitutional duty to promote and protect our social and cultural values, an injunction by our constitution. So indeed, we are taking our responsibility under the constitution and promoting and passing this bill.
This was when things got a little bit heated on the floor when Communications Minister Eslo Wusu, who debated, actually said that the human rights of such persons must be considered, and that she was excited that the committee had taken its time to trash out some of those issues in its report.
What we can do is to ensure that the human rights of every Ghanaian citizen are protected in line with our constitution, and that nobody is discriminated against because of their beliefs or sexual orientation.
Yes, Honorable, let's hear you.
It is incumbent on us as members of Parliament to craft a piece of legislation that is not in conflict with our constitution or existing legislation. And so I commend the committee for the extensive work that they have done to clean up the bill that was presented to us and to come up with the amendments that they have proposed. And for the information of all Ghanaians, oral sex, anal sex, regardless of whether it is between man and man, or woman and woman, is illegal under our law. So if there is anybody who is practicing oral sex or anal sex today on a man or a woman, please note that what you're doing is against the existing law of this country because it is a natural carnal knowledge.
But just when she concluded her debate and another MP was on the floor, the Speaker of Parliament said he had heard that the Honorable Murtala Mohammed, MP for Tamale Central, had uttered some words to the extent that Eslo Usu was either a promoter or a practitioner of anti-LGBTQ activities.
Honorable Member for Tamale Central, please kindly withdraw that statement. Honorable Member for Tamale Central, please. We are telling all of us together. Please withdraw that statement. No, I overheard you. Honorable Murtala, I overheard you. Please just withdraw the statement.
Well, they impressed on Honorable Murtala Mohammed to apologize, and he wasn't ready to do so. And Honorable Eslo Usu was visually incensed and so angry.
Mr. Speaker, I sat here and repeatedly heard Honorable Murtala refer to me as a practitioner of LGBT to the hearing of everyone in this house. I sat here and repeatedly heard him
Honorable Minister,
shout at the top of his voice and refer to me as a practitioner of LGBTQ. And every single last one of you is behaving as if you didn't hear it. And if in response to that I say he is mad, it is only a madman who will refer to his colleague in this house as a practitioner of LGBTQ when you haven't seen me having sexual intercourse with your wife or your daughter or your mother.
Honorable Minister,
when you haven't caught me having sexual intercourse with your wife or your daughter or your mother.
Honorable
you
Minister,
sit there and refer to me in those terms. In those terms.
Honorable Minister,
and we call ourselves honorable members of this house. When you all hear it and pretend that suddenly you've lost your sense of hearing.
Honorable Minister.
Well, eventually the two MPs smoked the peace pipe. They all apologized for their part in the fracas in Parliament.
On every single step. But Mr. Speaker, it is fair that Honorable Eslo Usu, strangely, the Honorable former Minister seated by her is not aware she made some statement. Also withdraw every statement she made.
Members of Parliament, and with respect to the titles that we bear and the constituencies that we represent, if there's any gesture I made which anyone here finds offensive, I withdraw it. However, let us all also be honest and admit that certain things happen here which are wrong.
Now that the bill has gone through the second reading, it will come back again for consideration stage where it will be taken clause by clause, it will be debated. Eventually, if this consensus and this coalition on both sides of the House holds, then we may expect that this controversial anti-LGBTQ bill will now be passed into law. Reporting for JoyNews, Kweku Asante, Parliament House, Accra.
We kickstart our big stories, and that, among other matters, are those we're going to be discussing this morning on the show with our guests, members of Parliament themselves. I'll be picking their thoughts on those scenarios that played out in Parliament, the August House of Parliament yesterday. We have joining the conversation Kofi Adams, he's Member of Parliament for the Buem constituency. Then we also have Professor Kingsley Nyako, Member of Parliament for Kwadaso. From different ends of Parliament, sitting together in the studio. Gentlemen, I nearly said lady, and then I realized both of you. Which also is a bit of a challenge I'm throwing to the female members of Parliament. We want to hear more from you, and when we invite, we hope your parties sometimes will also put forward the female members of Parliament. What's the percentage now? 20?
I think it's 20.
20%, 20%.
No, in terms of numbers, we have 20 on our side, and they have 20.
20 on their side. But what is the percentage
But I don't
again?
know what the
okay, so we can quickly do 20
So
out
that
of
would be 40 out
one.
of 275.
About 15 or 16%, but we can do the maths.
Definitely. So 20 divided by 1.
No, 40.
So you want us to do the general one?
Yeah,
okay, so 40 by the 275 will give you that times 100.
So about
So that's 14.5%.
That's what 15, as I said.
14.5%. Let's start off the conversation from there. I will get into the happenings of Parliament yesterday, but there have been promises by different presidents. I think President Akufo-Addo himself had spoken about gender parity in Parliament. We are not doing badly. Chief Justice, third time within the Fourth Republic, a woman, and we've had even the Speaker of Parliament, Bamford Addo, if I got the name right, and among others. But you look at Parliament itself, 14.5%. Some parliaments, I think Ethiopia and others, have some parity there, 50% plus. Gentlemen, you are both men.
Yeah.
What do we do? And you both represent different parties. What can we do?
Okay, so I think, let me say a very good morning to our revered viewers, your good self. It's been a while. And Kofi, my very good brother, also very active in Parliament. Okay, so I think that we need to do more with regard to encouraging more women to take up the responsibility of pursuing a career or an agenda to the August House to represent their constituents. The nature of our politics is such that it is very turbulent. It's also resource heavy. So it seems a lot of people also want to be there. So it is always a desire and an interest and a fight to be there. And I want to salute and pat on the back of those females who are able to, go beyond their norms and fight to be there, because it is a very Herculean task. They're able to get in there and they win their respective seats. And I think that all those such women in Parliament right now, I salute them for what they've done. But others must also not be scared. They must take a cue from what others have been able to do and believe in themselves that when they venture with their desire and their interest, if they are focused,
right,
they can also be there. I don't know how, some of the countries you've mentioned, and I think that legislations are put in place to ensure that we don't have legislation that says that
we don't have a quota system.
Yes, we don't even have that. If that is the way we want to go, for us to because we have affirmative action in some sectors of the economy, educational institutions, and others. If we want to go that tangent in our quest to increasing the female percentage in the House, I wouldn't have any problems about that. With the absence of such a legislation, what I can say is that we need to encourage more women to brace the odds, venture, and they can make it as others have been able to make it. A slap from our side. There are a lot of ladies from our side, and also on the side of the minority, who for me, who are
Madam Helou, among others.
No, I know some of them defy, and others, they are solid. On our side too, they are solid. They've proven that they have a metal, okay, that inspires. Okay, so
just to wrap on this then, what do we do? Should we also have maybe a quota system per the law that stipulates that maybe you can't have less than this, and that even when political parties put forward candidates, or maybe in certain, we're going to reserve these slots for women, or that these constituencies will be contested by only women, so to guarantee. Do we need a guarantee system?
For me, we need to be proactive and pragmatic.
Proactivity and pragmatism have not worked so far.
I'm saying that
many presidents have said we'll do it. It's never worked.
Saying something doesn't make you proactive. Say something. Some people say that it is easier done than said. It is easier done than said, not easier said than done. You need to do it. So if you say you are pragmatic, or you are proactive,
right?
Proactive, it doesn't mean that you just say it. You have to do it. In my party, for example, what I know is that when you're going for primaries, okay, we give a certain percentage reduction for our female aspirants, 50% or so, and other persons who are vulnerable. I mean, this is a step in the right direction, resource-wise, okay? But for me, I believe that something more must be done. There are other people who also argue that, you hear some people say that what men can do better. It's a challenge. It's a challenge that inspires them to do the extraordinary. If you come to the University of Ghana, for example, the top 3 or 4 powerful persons are all females. The chancellor, the chair of council, the vice chancellor, the registrar.
But let's not act as though that had been. It's just a current instance and something that in some way may have been by chance, so to speak.
No.
Especially if you look at the vice chancellor situation, for example. I mean, that is the reality. We all know.
Nana Ba is a very good friend. I was teacher at the University of Ghana. She rose, okay?
And I'm not trying by saying this to denigrate her in any way, but I'm looking at the circumstances.
She rose from HOD. She became a dean. She even contested to be the provost for the College of Education when I was the HOD there. She placed second. She didn't go through. Then she fought and became pro-vice chancellor, academic and student affairs. Okay. Then she also became the vice chancellor. The registrar now used to be a college secretary of the College of Education. So they've gotten there through merit.
All right.
Okay.
So I get the point you're saying. Some things must be done. Kofi Adams, on this situation, I mean, there are a lot of women in your constituency. I don't know whether you know the demographics of your constituency and what the constituents are in terms of male-female relationship. But if you look at the generality of the population, what we see, the 51+% women, it means that everywhere you go, there is that heavy constituency. In terms of representation in Parliament, what do you have to say on that bit?
Well, thank you for the opportunity and good morning to your viewers and to my colleague, Professor Nyako, and your very good self. And this is an important subject you've brought up for consideration this morning. And it's been something we've all been having a bite at. But our constitutional arrangement and the kind of politics we do is what has not allowed women to participate so much. I will say that the argument I will advance in the area of Parliament has been made weaker by what happens in our district assemblies. Because in the case of the district assemblies, we do have a reserved 30% government appointment, which we could have used to complement the 70% elections by putting in more women at that level. But if you check what we consider in putting government appointees, the 30% government appointees in our district assemblies, we end up adding more men than we do for women when already more men are elected in the 70%. So I want to say that I am aware of this situation at the district assembly level. But why am I saying this? I'm saying this also because we do direct elections, competitive direct elections. A candidate is elected directly. So which constituency are you going to mark out that for this constituency only women should contest? Is it Kwadaso?
Right.
Or is it Buim? How are you going to select? Whose stronghold are you going to say that, okay, for this particular constituency, only women should contest. How are you going to legislate?
But you do know that at some point we must do something about the situation.
Well,
and that if we were committed, we'd be able to do it.
I'm coming to what we must do. What we must do is possibly now to change our system instead of a direct elections, where Professor Nyako, Kofi Adams will have to be a candidate directly to be voted for. Now we vote political parties like they do in, say, South Africa. Parties who arrange their candidates. You vote the parties, the percentage you get, that is what you will bring to parliament.
So some sort of proportional representation.
In that case, they will tell you that out of the percentage that you get, maybe 30% of what you get must be women. So your hands are then tied. But where you have to present a candidate A, on a poster to be voted, on the ballot to be voted, then it becomes very challenging.
That's an interesting proposition.
Even in a situation where a candidate has been elected on a party's ticket and something happens, you don't even say that if there's a by-election, only the party that won that seat should bring a replacement. Right. In those democracies you are referring to, if an MP should pass on or should resign, the party that he is coming from is given the opportunity to elect another person to just continue. We don't have that. And that is where the challenge is. So we should also begin to look at our constitution and see whether we've not tried these direct elections up to a point to see if we shouldn't be trying systems that have worked in places where some parity have been introduced. But ours has its advantages also, though. It has its advantages and it has its challenges. But like he said, they've copied something good from us in terms of giving women 50% and other vulnerable persons. They used not to do it. They actually didn't even have a women's wing but they've copied a number of things from us, and it's good.
There are best practices you have learned from them. There are best practices they have learned from you. In fact, that aids in the political dynamism. But I'd like to find out if push came to shove in Parliament, and interestingly, both of you sit on different sides of Parliament. If push came to shove and you had to vote to make proposals to empower women more in the August House of Parliament, would you be for it? I mean, it may not necessarily be what you propose or necessarily what you propose. But would the two of you be for it?
I've always done it. As a party officer, there are a number of women we have in Parliament today. I have encouraged them, supported them. So I am always for it.
All right, you?
Same here. But I also think that political parties, it's not always about elections. Democracy is not always about elections. There could be nominations. So if you find out that a particular lady within a particular constituency is very good, the people like the person, and the person can help the constituents, you can nominate the person without going to competitive election. I've checked and I've realized that there's an improvement of women representation in Parliament over the 7th Parliament. So in the 7th Parliament, there were 35 females. That represented about 12.75%. As we speak, there are 40. That is 15.5%, almost 14.5%, almost 15%. So there's an improvement, okay, of 5 addition. So if we keep on encouraging them, putting them to take up active roles, I think that, for the 9th Parliament, the number might even go beyond the 40 or the 14.5% that we have right now. So let us open up the space. Let us do decent politics. Let us do politics devoid of insults, okay, where people will freely, especially the women, come out and aspire to be there to help their constituents.
All right. So let's quickly get into other matters. We'll stay in Parliament. So there's the anti-LGBTQ bill. And yesterday there was some deliberation on it. Finally, it has come to the House of Parliament after all the amendments, which we've not seen yet, but which supposedly have been made. What do you make of the entire happenings in Parliament yesterday? We'll pick them apart, but generally, in just about a minute each, before we get into the details? I'll start with you, Kofi Adams.
Well, it's difficult to do that in a minute, but I should say that what happened yesterday is what any bill goes through, whether it is a bill that is being sponsored by government or now what has become part and parcel of our parliamentary process, the private members' bill, which started from the 7th Parliament and is being utilized strongly now. It's become a tool that MPs are now using to push through a number of things. What happened is what usually happens to a bill. When a bill is first read, it is referred to the committee will deliberate on it and will have to submit a report. And at the plenary, this is debated, which is considered as a second reading before it goes through consideration. I believe that this bill has kept quite a long time at the committee level. People even thought that it was something that would see will go through a very fast process, considering that many persons, the religious, the faithful, Christians, Muslim and traditional practitioners of this country have all backed it in one way or the other. But that was not the case. Reading the report that was submitted from this committee, I think it was good they took their time to deliberate on it because a lot of concerns that persons have raised, I think, have been considered by the committee. And that explains why yesterday, when even after it's moving and Mr. Speaker asked if anybody was opposed to it, that person should be on his or her feet. We found nobody in the chamber rising to his or her feet because a number of concerns that members have raised, I think the committee considered all those concerns and was properly captured in the report. I await the consideration stage where we will be taking it clause by clause. Even the long title of the bill has seen some change. There's a recommendation to even change the long title to take certain words out of the long title to make more meaning and to build some level of consensus in it. So it's good. And what happened yesterday, I believe, will reflect in the consideration stage of this bill, and we will quickly pass it and get His Excellency the President to assent to it so it becomes law.
You say get His Excellency the President to assent to it. You can't compel him to do that.
Well, we can't compel him, but Parliament have other tools to use when the President refuses to sign a bill that we are interested in. Because this is a bill 275 persons. All members have given indication that they are happy about, they want it worked on. If we finish working on it and he decides not to sign it, he has his business that he brings to us to also do. And we will handle his business the way he handled our business also.
Well, but I doubt if it came to that, though the other side of Parliament is in support of the bill, I doubt they would go against their president.
Well, so far, they haven't. Our
president, of course, but their leader of the party.
So far, yeah, they haven't given us that indication because you remember 85 of them on 25th of October 2022 came out that LGBT. They wanted Ken to go. And we also gave that indication. When it got to the point for us, we had a golden opportunity. They listened to the president who told them that, oh no, allow my whiz kid who is not performing to stay. And they agreed to that. Until now, we were told, oh, let's finish IMF. They've done with IMF and he's still in there. So I will not be surprised that it gets to that point and they decide to be on the side of the president. But I doubt if the president will not have reviewed, because you remember when he was interviewed and he said, oh, as for issues of this same sex, even in UK, it used not to be. Then movements came up. And that if that happened, that interview he had.
You're talking of the it's bound to happen.
It's bound to happen interview.
Conversation.
I believe that he's regretted it. I should think so. So I don't think that he will dare want to do anything.
But while I look at all of that and the dynamics, I mean, all members of parliament towing a certain line, it points in a certain direction. But are you also considering, well, some members of your side, St. George among others, say they've had their visas either cancelled or blocked in a way to some of these jurisdictions, that even when they go to certain jurisdictions, changing money is a problem because they are supposedly not allowed to use dollars or something. So there are some sanctions your members are being slapped with. But if you look at, oh well, St. George has spoken about this.
Yeah,
but if you consider Uganda and their law now on LGBTQ and how the West especially has gone hard on them, what do you make of the situation? Is it the road we want to go down?
You see,
just from that angle, because these are questions that people pose, that there are fears that, oh, if you go that way, then we're not going to get loans and all of that. What is the situation?
Loans for what? Loans to come and spend, dealing with a situation that will create all kinds of ailment. You see, those countries that have allowed these LGBTQ plus situations, what they are going through now, even with their advanced medical facilities, we can't even deal with simple malaria. We can't deal with simple diarrhea. And you want to bring a situation that will further exacerbate some kind of diseases that you don't even have facilities to deal with, just because they will give you loans, monies that you will pay back, and to take it only to come and build health infrastructure to treat what you could have avoided by stopping it. And so, for me, I don't care what they will say, whether they want to stop everybody from traveling to their countries. Do we need to go to any other country before we can develop our countries? No. If they want to stop us, they can stop us. If they are not interested in giving us loans, they can keep their money. If they think they alone can sit there and develop, they can sit there and see whether they will develop without integrating with others or having some relationship with others. I don't think that somebody should dictate to us how we should run our countries. No, I don't believe in that.
All right, thank you for those initial points. Prof.
Oh, okay, so, what happened yesterday in the House was a spectacular sight where all of us came together to support a bill that is dear to the heart of the people.
Right.
And for me, it was refreshing that 275 members in the House, including the Speaker, came together to align with the wishes and aspirations of the people regarding the preservation of our values. And also for me, that is something good. And I want to put on record, the New Patriotic Party wouldn't do anything that would be an affront to our cherished values and all that. So we support it. The party supports it. The government supports it. So I don't see how the president will go against what the representative of the people in the House stand for. And this kills the propaganda that the New Patriotic Party was against the bill before the House. Okay, we are all for it. And I'm happy that now we are going to what we did yesterday was to look at the principles behind the bill. We are done with that. Going to the consideration stage where we are going to look at all the clauses provided in the bill, where we feel that something must be done to make it better. I think that we'll bring our respective views to bear on that. Right. We shouldn't forget that the initial bill has gone through so many changes because of the input. I'm told that we had about 200 memoranda from society, and that has transformed, the bill as we see now. There were lacunas in the initial one But now, now it's better because you see, Ben, in as much as we desire to do something that benefits the people, we must also be very careful that we don't do anything that will compromise or undermine or impinge on the Constitution, because if you pass a law and it's against the Constitution, it will be shut down. Right. So we have to be very careful.
Of course, in passing law, parliaments cannot enact laws that contravene the Constitution already.
That is why
it is clear.
That's why we have to be very careful that we don't have to come up with a law that somebody will go to court.
So for you, in simple terms, from where you sit, you don't see the possibility of Parliament, because now you are in unison on this matter. Yes. You don't see any possibility that after it has gone through all the stages and it gets to Mr. President to give his assent, sign his signature, he could say no.
No,
you don't see that as a possibility.
No. You know, you see, I don't see that as a possibility. Okay. And I'm a researcher, and I mean, so variables are not constant.
Right.
When variables change, it will change. An intervention you put in place.
For now, you don't see that happening.
No.
All right. Let's make tracks on that.
But that specific. Some things happened yesterday.
We're going to get into those.
Sure.
That's quick reaction. Is there something you want to say?
Well, I was just going to say that, you see, the worry people express is that very senior persons, for example, when the bill was first read and referred to the committee, the Attorney General expressed his views, and some of his views suggested that they were not so comfortable with the bill.
How did he say?
Because, for example, to indicate that it was going to passing the bill in the form it was going to bring on board some financial impact on the economy. Which was completely shut down. So you realize that the position of such a senior member of government on the bill gave room for people to say government and members of the party were using all means possible not to get this bill from going through the processes and being passed into law. But clearly, the report as submitted yesterday gave indication that the Attorney General's fears that it will have some financial impact is neither here nor.
I found it curious when I also saw that. But let's quickly move on. Let's quickly move on. I don't want us to dwell too much on.
I just want to put something. No, the point I want to, you see, the bill as it stands now, my brother will attest to it.
It has gone through several amendments.
So when people give opinions on an issue, it doesn't mean that they are against the spirit and letter of that particular issue.
There are specifics they are against.
It means that some things must be done to make it better. What he said, in the Constitution, and even in our sign orders, it is clear that whatever will bring imposition of tax on an issue, on a bill, for example, must be looked into it unless it is coming from the president or the minister. You know what I mean?
Express those fears.
No, but yesterday on the floor it even came up.
It came up because
we've gone beyond that.
So.
No, we've gone beyond that. The MPP was not against the.
Okay, so that point is clear. That point is clear. Well, let's get into, gentlemen, let's get into what transpired yesterday. There was the good side of what transpired where all of you were in unison. I found it interesting when Mr. Speaker said anyone against the bill stand, and Parliament was as quiet as cemetery, and no one rose. But that question, though, some have said it was a bit too dramatic what the Speaker did. How did you feel in your seats when he said anyone against? Did you feel he was putting you to the sword, sort of?
But you see, I was happy that for once, the media, though, saw some empty chairs, considered yesterday as a 275 I'm happy that for the first time they did so. But it is true that the 275 were speaking because many were at committee levels.
Right.
doing committee work, doing parliamentary work, and they have already expressed their
positions on.
So sometimes also when the media come to the house there and you find some empty spaces, just as you reported yesterday, that 275 were for it and nobody stood, even though you saw empty chairs. Right. Next time, try as much as possible to be fair in your haven't dealt with that. Yes, of course, the speaker is also a very smart person. He's been a member of parliament for, it was a 7...
Some say that was uncalled for, because, I mean, can you remember, can you imagine maybe for some members of parliament, the backlash if they had stood?
Don't forget that till now, he's the most experienced person in our midst from 1993.
Okay.
He's been in parliament from 1993 till now, except that now he's the speaker. But he's been in there from the commencement of the 4th Republican Parliament, 1993, 7th January. He's been there till now. He was packing out, and he was brought back to now head Parliament. So he's very experienced. He knows how to create an environment and to direct a debate in a way that will suit the values of the state. So that question, yes, was putting people on the spot, but it was a good one, and it was a smart one.
Right, Prof.
I think.
How did it make you feel when he said that?
Oh, I mean, it was okay, because you see, Bernard Ahiafo spoke first. Bernard, then this man, I just forgot his name. And the Apia spoke. When he spoke, he made it clear that all of us are in support of that. Based on that, that was why the speaker said that from the submission of Andy Piakubi, it is clear that we are all in support of that. That's why, as I said, the speaker is a very smart person, and he knew the mood of the people. He knew that we were all in support of that. Right. That was why,
so this was not to put anyone on the spot?
No, it was not to intimidate anybody in my respective view. Right. Just to confirm what Andy appeared. But I was going to say that in Parliament, there are people of conviction, people who stand with their principles. Okay, so nobody was cowed. Into that. We all believe that the intention of the bill is something that will inure to the benefit of the people in terms of our values. So, for me, it was cool.
Now, I'm looking at a photo of this lovely woman with cropped hair here with pretty large glasses. They are her trademark, Ursula Owusu-Ekufo. And I'm looking at this lovely gentleman with his batakari, which you would usually find him in, Ibrahim Murtala Muhammad. These two people, I would say, tend to be controversial as well. I've interviewed them a number of times. Ursula, not so many times, but Murtala, most definitely. And sometimes I disagree to agree with them. In fact, sometimes I don't agree with them at all. But yesterday, they went at each other in the august House of Parliament. Ibrahim Murtala Muhammad, the Tamale Central MP, supposedly, purportedly, said certain things suggesting that Ursula Owusu-Ekufo might be standing saying what she had because she was maybe involved in LGBTQ activities. And her response, which JoyNews captured in one of our quote cards, "Did you catch me having intercourse with your wife?" She actually posed that question to him. I just want to find out, from where you sit, did you hear Murtala Muhammad utter those comments? Because later the rhetoric was that no, he hadn't said anything of the sort. And in any case, if something is to be captured by Parliament, it must be spoken in the microphone with the express permission of the Speaker of Parliament. Just walk me through that process. Did you hear, first of all, Murtala Muhammad utter any such things? And if you did, what did you hear?
Yes, I did.
You did?
Yeah, I heard him say...
Where were you seated?
Oh, on the right of the Speaker, the last but one row. That's where I normally sit. So, for me, You know, we have been discussing how to encourage women to take interest in becoming members of parliament. So you don't denigrate your colleague in that manner. You know, Muntala is a very good friend, full of energy and all that. But I think that he has to tone down a bit. What he did to Esla yesterday was needless, was uncalled for. And it was an attempt to denigrate or demean the person of Esla. That was not right. And honorable members must be very careful about our utterances, especially when it comes to women and our colleagues. Because you see, you don't have evidence to support that. Why do you say that she's a practitioner of LGBT or a promoter of LGBT? You know what I mean? You don't do that. You don't have the evidence. So why do you even go there? You know what I mean? We must respect each other. I remember in March last year, I asked a simple question when the appeals court said that Jachi Christie shouldn't be in the house. I wanted to find, because I'm a first-time MP, I wanted to find out why he was in the house when there was an appeals court judgment. Colleagues on the other side didn't take kindly to that. You know what I mean? I saw, they're not happy with me when I had asked a harmless, question. Okay, then we are discussing a sensitive topic like this, and you had a go at your colleague, member of parliament, when the second deputy speaker, was trying to plead with you to withdraw those words. You said no, and he had to even talk to your leader, Ato Forsen, to speak. All these Mutala didn't even yield, undermining the authority of the speaker. That is not fair. You know, at least give him that honor, that dignity as the Speaker of Parliament.
So you feel Murtala Mohammed disrespected the Speaker of Parliament?
In my humble view, and not only the Speaker of Parliament.
Just let me know. Did he disrespect the Speaker by those actions?
Because he didn't retract those words. And when the second. The deputy chief whip was asked to even talk to him. He didn't listen. Atofosi himself, the leader on their side, he didn't listen, at least.
So he disrespected the speaker. He disrespected the entirety of
everybody.
Right.
Everybody.
Let me just find out.
By Esla, when she was prompted that some of the words she used were
she retracted.
She did the needful. That is an honorable person.
She retracted, still justified, but she retracted.
No, she didn't. An honorable person is the one who, when it is pointed out to them that they've done something wrong, are able to own up. That makes you a man.
And I was proud that she did that. That she's a ferocious character. She shares her views. Some of those views I don't necessarily agree with, but she's passionate about what she says. You could tell from when. But what does this also say about? We were just talking about women's empowerment. What does it say? The way Murtala went against her. What does it say about empowering women, especially in the August House of Parliament? Plus, even whether male to male or female to female or male to female in Parliament, you must be extremely decorous. You must watch what you say against a fellow member of Parliament. What does it say about female empowerment?
What we do in Parliament is observed by everybody. Our actions, our inactions must be what make the house a dignified house. It must be a house that assumes confidence in the people. It must be a house that will make people desire to be there, to contribute to national discourses. It shouldn't be a house of intimidation. It should be a house that spies people because of what they say, because of where they come from, or because of their agenda. Okay, so for me, it was a bad spectacle that we heard yesterday, and I hope that it doesn't even happen again. Okay, we must respect each other. What we say. Why do you have to be offensive to make a point? Why do you have to accuse somebody wrongfully to achieve what, to what end? You know what I mean? So with respect, our colleague. I mean, I like him because of his energy, you know what I mean? Because, I mean, his person is PhD, but we have to... Yes, at Peace Science in the West of Ghana. So we have to check, because you see, people judge us by what we say.
Sometimes there's the optics. There's even what is seen, not what is even said.
Yeah, I mean, what we say, how we go about things. People observe us, okay? And we are modeled. The moment you find yourself in Parliament, you are seen to be a role model.
But you've not addressed one issue. Just address that quickly for me, and let me bring in Kofi Adams. If it's not spoken through the microphone,
the
speaker must give you express permission, and then you speak. It is not recorded by the handset and all of that. And if it is recorded, then you have to retract all of that.
If it were spoken into the microphone, then the speaker could have directed that portion should be expunged from the handset. But because it was not recorded, it's not going to be recorded in the handset, he can't say that it has to be deleted or expunged from the proceedings. That was why he said that. Because we all heard it. Just do us the honor by rejoining. What is wrong about that?
Thank you. Kofi Adams, did you hear what he heard? And if you did, what did you hear?
Let me say that at that stage of the debate, I wasn't truly in the chamber because of the Public Accounts Committee sitting.
You were not in the chamber at the time?
I wasn't in the chamber. Okay. So I only followed later. You know, Parliament has its social media handles that broadcast what goes on there. So I went back and then listened to what actually transpired.
Did you confer with any of your the members of Parliament on your side to find out whether he actually said that?
The question that you asked, that was what the second Deputy Speaker, who was presiding, did finally. To direct that those comments, if and only if they were captured, be expunged. That could have solved the problem. Before we adjourned yesterday, those were his final directives, that it be expunged. So that could easily have been done to save the situation.
But the point is, if those comments were actually said, uttered in Parliament, I want to pin you to the wall. Would those comments be in good taste, saying that of another member of Parliament? Would that be in good taste?
Was he speaking facts, or he was just conjecturing?
He's not produced any evidence. He's not adduced any evidence as of this point.
You see, that's what I'm saying. Words may have their own meaning. If you pick, there's a lot of report. And I was just reading through a Ghana Web report of 2021, 29th April, that reported that the Minister for Communication and Digitalization is said to have given indication that she experimented with what they describe as supi then, but it was titled lesbianism, which I didn't even want to mention. Was that what Murtala was referring to?
But in any case, there is no evidence that can be adduced to this, is there?
Well, if this publication has not been changed, there was no reaction from the minister that she did that. Somebody in his state could decide to extrapolate it. This is not to suggest that I support describing your colleague in a manner that you do not have evidence to support. But I'm saying...
next thing you know, someone could come and I speak to another member of Parliament on the floor and say, you're a thief.
Of course.
That wouldn't...
Of course. Unfortunately, you see, that's the problem some persons also had with our colleague. And this is not to justify. You remember her, I think it was in one of your sister stations, where she described the then president as Jolo and all kinds of words. Without evidence. So you plan to without evidence. Do that today? So no, I'm not saying that. Well, I will not do that. But this is somebody that is noted for calling others also names that she has no evidence for. So
two wrongs don't make a right, right?
I agree, two wrongs don't make a right, but then let's state that clearly, that this is someone who is also noted for that. But on this occasion.
So is it because she's noted for some of these utterances?
Would you,
maybe
so if you allow me,
maybe the NDC has targeted that they will also go hard.
Yeah. That's the import.
Let me do this, please.
No, not at all. Not at all. Let me say that yesterday, when I listened to the Murtala and others who spoke, were clear and stated what it is that they felt offended with based on the comments of what? The honorable member for Ablekuma West. Unfortunately, when Murtala was asking for direction as to what exact comment, that was what generated all the debate, because Murtala said he had made a number of comments. So which comment was the speaker asking him to withdraw? Because he didn't speak into the mic. While seated there, he has said a number of things. Which one? So all he needed was proper direction. And it is that proper direction.
Was he not just circumventing, trying to?
Well, you see,
how much had he said
in Parliament?
We'll have to sift through to find out what specifically.
In Parliament, people use all kinds of tools to go around what it is that is alleged that they have said, that they want to still move round, and finally before landing. So we could have given the gentleman a soft landing, a way and manner to enable him do what we wanted him to do. But he wasn't given that opportunity. He was never really given that opportunity. He was not told exactly which was until the report started coming out, before he realized that, oh, is this what they were referring to? Is that what they were referring to? But I think Mr. Speaker, or the second deputy speaker who was presiding, cured the mischief by directing that if those comments were captured, they should be expunged from the records of the House. I think that maybe the media should not have even moved further to do further report on it and discussions and all manner.
Why not?
Because the discussions that you give to it is what is now generating all these controversies.
But as members of Parliament, you should have known. We pick everything.
Well, but
we'll put them out there.
As members of, like you said, you rightly said yourself, only one person is heard in the House. That's why when Mr. Speaker is speaking, everybody who wants to contribute, you have to resume your seat. When the Speaker is speaking, nobody stands. When a member is speaking and another member rises, maybe you are rising on a point of order. But when Mr. Speaker is speaking, you don't even rise. You have to wait for Mr. Speaker to finish before you say. So only one member is heard at a time. So what you don't say into the mic, sometimes we must not generate so much controversy out of it.
All right, so just to move the conversation forward, I just want us to wrap on that point. You are clearly not in support of what Murtala Mohammed said.
I'm not in support of both.
If he said
what Osla and then Murtala
moving forward
said.
Moving forward,
not just Murtala.
There have been so many negatives that have been. In fact, earlier today, I saw. I think the very first comments that came in from Andrew Asare said, "Childish and disgraceful MPs in Parliament." Some people will adopt a stance like this, though it is not fair to put all of you in that bracket. But some people will think things like this because they feel constantly.
There's a saying that.
I mean, remember the tussle over the vote and all of that. People running, some people getting slapped, people supposedly carrying razor blades. This 8th Parliament has been so. I mean, the 7th Parliament into the 8th Parliament.
I'm not aware of razor blade though, but then there's a saying that one bad nut
spoils the soup.
Yeah. So sometimes the action of one person's get discussed and then we are all.
I just want to find out, moving forward, very briefly, what do you think can be done? Because Parliament has, in your standing orders, you have rules clearly how parliamentarians should engage other parliamentarians. But time and again, we see things happen that are not exactly supposed to happen. What can we do?
Our Parliament has not been as hot as some other parliaments that we have followed. In some parliaments, serious blows are exchanged even out of debates. Not mere.
I have seen those, but are you sure you want to compare our parliament to those parliaments?
Not
that is not the benchmark, is it?
Not mere. Well, It happens almost including even the U.S. Parliament.
I knew you would go there.
I'm saying yes.
I
It
knew
happens
exactly
even in the U.S. Parliament. So it happens even in the U.S. Parliament.
I could just read you and you went there.
No, I'm saying this,
especially on the back of what happened with the president.
Some of this.
You were so predictable there.
But it is not an excuse
right.
that we should continue to allow. We can debate and still present your position without using words.
Prof,
that makes
heckling.
How do we season
heckling
debates in Parliament?
Heckling is allowed even during debates, but to a certain extent.
There's heckling and there's bullying.
To a certain extent, the speaker can allow that. But you see, we don't have to allow misbehavior to fester in the house. We need to dignify the house. It must be a house of discipline. And per our rules, the speaker has the right to walk out anybody who misbehaves in the house by using the marshals. They need to stamp the authority in the house and ensure that those who
the speaker didn't think it got to that stage.
But what I'm saying is that our speakers must begin to crack the whip to enforce discipline in the house.
All right, point made. So you see it from the speaker's point of view.
Let's not make it like it was. So
no, I don't think
there was a brawl.
It is about
general term. There was a brawl. There was a brawl. Remember in 2021, there was a brawl. Fisticuffs there. Right. Okay.
Well, at that time there was no speaker.
Voting.
That time there was no speaker.
Oh, somebody was in the chair.
At that time there was
somebody was in the chair.
No, I said that time there was no speaker.
I get the point, but let him land. I'm sure you understand.
The wise was in the chair. The fisticuff that happened, that embarrassed the House for the first time. Okay. Before the speaker was elected, look at what happened. Okay, so we have been seeing some of these nasty scenes in the House. They must not be allowed to continue.
All right, this so mustn't fester. Just a quick point, though, as we make tracks, please don't dwell too much on this. I want us to talk about Jachikwason, among other things. Section 104 of the Criminal Code of Ghana, just citing what Slawusu Ekufo was talking about, a natural carnal knowledge. If you are found culpable, you're guilty of a misdemeanor. It also talks about bestiality. But she made specific reference to oral sex, anal sex, among others, and what some people may not know about the bill. How do you feel about that? I feel it was almost a challenge being thrown to other members of Parliament on some of these.
There's a definition of the unnatural carnal knowledge to mean a penetration. So that was what even this bill seeks to cure. That in the case of woman-to-woman kind of relationship, you may not, by the nature of the organs involved, you may not find a penetration. So this bill seeks to cure, to bring all kinds of situations under control. So it's a challenge to all of us. It's a challenge that we must open our eyes and ears more. I think that this bill is good. I think that we must push it. I think that we must not create any room for anybody whatsoever who thinks that, this is a right. And therefore, once there is space, I can push it. It is earlier stopped. The earlier we do it, the better. So I think the bill has come at the right time. So we can stop this madness from being promoted in our country. You know that if you do that, it is illegal. So I think it's good. It's come at the right time. You said something on Jachikwason.
I am now about to get there. So there has been a lot of talk. The by-election is over. He's been sworn in. He was sworn in yesterday.
My bite on what he said. I'm not speaking about it. The unnatural carnal knowledge. He has spoken about it, so permit.
Okay, just
so on that. Unnatural carnal knowledge is unnatural carnal knowledge. Having sexual intercourse with somebody in an unnatural manner. Okay, so that is simple. So I agree with Esla that those things, that we do that are unnatural are also illegal. Okay, the kind of things people do that defy the natural way of having intimacy are illegal.
All right.
We must also look into it. Unless we define unnatural carnal knowledge to suit what we want.
And that is what the bill is going to.
Otherwise, all those activities are illegal.
Right. The by-election has been held. He's been. This is an interesting bit because for the first time in the Fourth Republic and in any other republic, I don't know whether this has ever happened. At least historically, you never know what the antecedents could be. First time I've ever seen a situation like this: sitting MP taken out. No longer a member of parliament, barred from coming to parliament, by-election, wins, is reinstated in parliament, but he has a pending criminal case in court and all of that. The statements by Mr. President there, don't vote for someone who could be hobbled by court cases. Some have taken issue with that. There's the Domahene himself, a high court judge, who says, issue a nolle prosequi, let it go. Aikwe Otu, former Attorney General, Minister of Justice, he says, let it go. But there are others. There's been backlash from Sam Okujato, who says no, former president of the Ghana Bar Association in Accra, I think. Then there's the AG himself, who says, stop talking about this thing in this or that manner. What's your take? I'll start with you, Kofi Adams. Please, let's make our takes incisive on this. I want us to make tracks. There are other issues to look at.
Well, it's quite clear that the issue of James Chikwesen should not have continued in the court. Why do I say this? In all meaningful democracies, you don't subject a person to what we are subjecting this man to. You remember our founding president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, was in prison when he was elected. The people who put him in prison had reasons, justifiable reasons. They had legal base to put him in there. But when the people decided that he was the one they wanted to lead them, he was immediate. They released him. They discontinued all those situations and released him, and he was sworn in to assume his seat. James Chikwesen was accused of things that were not true. They subjected those things to test, assuming without admitting that the people of Asenov didn't know when they were voting on the 7th of December 2020. They now knew about all those things when they were voting on the 27th of June 2023. They still voted for him, and he won by even a higher percentage. That should indicate to you clearly that the issues you are referring to are not issues that are of worry to the persons. Clearly, how would you subject somebody to criminal trial when the person in 2019 submitted his passport, gave indication that I no longer hold any allegiance to you, and waited patiently for the certification which came late? The Electoral Commission that conduct the elections were much aware of the status of James Chikwesen at the time they conducted the elections, because they received the renunciation certificate, saw the date of issuance, and were satisfied that he still qualified to participate in the elections they were conducting. An election they conducted,
but they are not privy to all the information.
They were privy to every single information.
No, I'm saying that there are some portions of information. They will take you on your word.
I'm saying that no. Because of the report that was raised from Asenov, the district electoral officer said the issues were above him. So he referred to the regional in Cape Coast, that central region. The central region said, no, these issues are above me. Let me bring it to the chair herself. So it was brought before J. Mensah, who constituted a committee with the legal department representation, who received all the necessary documentation, including the renunciation certificate. They saw everything about it and still thought that he was qualified to contest that election. That is why the Electoral Commission is not a complainant. That is why the Electoral Commission is not saying that they have been deceived by anybody, because they were never deceived. When he swore the oath on the dawn of 7th January 2021, he swore the oath as a Ghanaian.
All right.
He swore the oath as a Ghanaian and to hold allegiance to Ghana
the
and
comments
Ghana only.
that have come through from different circles.
Comments that have come
the AG, Samukujeto,
and one is surprised that people are picking and choosing. They are not worried about His Excellency the President, who used the criminal process as a campaign message to get votes for his candidate. They are not worried about that. But they are worried about persons who waited for the people to decide and are saying that, look, what are the issues? It's not like the person right from the word go didn't give that indication. So to continue to push a matter that you are not 50% sure, you don't continue wasting everybody's time, because every day that question has to leave Parliament to go to court, we are wasting our resources. Because that time, he would have used it doing something for the good of the people of Asen North and Ghana.
Thank you.
So from what he has said, it means that Jachikwesin, our colleague in the House, has done nothing wrong. He's innocent. But the courts will determine that. For me, it went to the High Court.
So you are not in favor of a nolle prosequi being issued in this case?
I don't determine it. You see, for me...
The AG has had cause to issue it on other cases, prominent among them. You remember when Osafo Marfo, the senior minister, said, please let me do this. We wouldn't benefit as a nation in any way from the Aisha Huang situation. Someone who had come to destroy our country, so to speak.
The courts will determine...
They issued a nolle prosequi.
The courts and the prosecution will determine that based on evidence. I don't stand to benefit if Jachikwesin is put in prison. I don't have anything to gain. But
your party stands to gain.
I said, but the point
on the
is
back of the numbers in Parliament,
there's a legal process. If the government decides to quit now, how to be the implication? Will people be saying?
When the government quit in the Aisha Huang situation, what was the implication?
So if the time comes and that has to be done, it might be done. But I'm saying that this is done if the legal process is followed. But if you come and suggest that it has to be curtailed, because from what the Domain said, he said that we should have mercy upon him, isn't it? We should have mercy upon Jachikwesin. That is an admission of wrongdoing, because if you have not done anything wrong, why should there be mercy?
Jachikwesin himself hasn't admitted any wrongdoing.
No, I'm referring to what...
that is how he couched it.
So the moment you say that, it means that there's a wrongdoing. There's an admittance of that. But you see, let the legal process go on. If he will be, he will be exonerated, and I'm sure the Jachikwesin himself will be happy if he goes through the legal process and he's let off the hook. And that will be precedent for all of us to follow. Everybody has their opinion. This will say A, this will say B. They're all fair and good. But we don't have to suggest that what he is going to is an orchestration by the government, which hunting him. That is not what I want the debate to center on.
Okay.
Let us let fairness.
We have about 5 minutes to go. I want us to focus on
just 30 seconds. Just 30 seconds.
You're taking 30 seconds out.
30 seconds. I'm saying that the lawyers of James Jachikwesin have not given indication that they are not even prepared to. Their worry is that to ask him to appear in court on daily basis.
The day-to-day.
The day-to-day. That is what they are even challenging. They are prepared to defend him, and they will defend.
I heard
they will defend him.
Ameliba saying that many of us he supports the nolle prosequi. I heard him.
And I'm saying, of course, they call for nolle prosequi. We all support it. That has been my position.
Gentlemen, two quick points. As my colleague Ohiming Teria reports from the Ashanti region, there's quite a situation. I'm sure you've been following it. I believe it was it last year or last 2 years, in the first quarter or so, about 3,000 of our nurses left. It's become a situation we've heard from the Ghana Health Service. Now, the Ghana Health Service is also now complaining because it's frustrated with the growing number of health professionals, especially nurses, leaving the country to seek greener pastures. In the Ashanti region alone, over 300 nurses, 300 vacated their posts in the first quarter of 2023. I want you to quickly address that issue and then also look at the issue of David Ajay, Sir David Ajay. I'm sure you followed his issue, the sexual abuse allegations leveled against him professionally and otherwise. Some have said, I mean, and just to look at the story in the Daily Guide newspaper, it talks about, some entities are dropping. So he stepped back from a number of roles after the Financial Times report. He's resigned as an architectural advisor to the Mayor of London. And his work on a British Holocaust memorial has been suspended after that report. And it goes on and
not
on.
To step there. Not to step there. So
he's still innocent until the court processes prove otherwise. But the point I'm trying to make, I've had people ask me, what does this say? Some entities are dropping him even before, if you follow basketball, Zion Williams and others, even before anything, they've been dropped. What does this say about his work with the National Cathedral? Some say, look, ties ought to be broken. Is that fair? Is that right?
Well,
two issues. The nurses and this one. When you
I'm not surprised on the issue of the government and then the cathedral silence on these very serious matters that have come up, because they've proven that a structure they claim they are building to honor God is bedeviled with all kinds of controversies, and they will not act. This is not the first time. Is it the executive secretary of the foundation or whatever it is?
I think I know whom you mean.
They have not dealt with it. They have not gotten him out. He's still there. So are you surprised that you are not hearing anything about?
But Shraj, I think, and others followed up on that issue.
The architect, are you surprised that they haven't acted? Even those who are building something related to the Holocaust have acted. You are building something claiming to honor God, and you are not acting. So it should tell you
So
clearly,
what should they do? He's done with his work.
Is he done with his work? Have they finished the structure?
As
it's a hole that we have there, the most expensive hole in Ghana, a Galamsey site in Accra, in the middle of Accra, so close to Parliament. Parliament, we have.
So what do you think should be done?
Immediately, they should get him off that project. They should get him off that project.
All right.
He should still not be kept in there at all. They should get him off that project.
On the issue of the nurses?
Well, the issue of the nurses, I'm equally not surprised. Because if those who are even finishing are not being employed, they are not paid well. It is not just nurses. Look, individual bondholders are going to pick it from 11th.
Also traveling.
The pensioner bondholders have been picketing. Food suppliers have been sleeping at buffer stock, their food buffer stock for two nights now. They are owed 270 million Ghana cedi. And government has found a way to get money to go and get new suppliers to give them cash for them to supply what these persons are owed. This country is just in a mess.
All right,
and so I'm not surprised that we are still, but let's appeal to them for the sake of our brothers and sisters, for the sake of all of us who need.
But the reality, a lot of these nurses are friends. I always say
that's true. The reality,
doctors and others, they'll tell you that, look, this is the economic situation, and I'm going to earn 7 times, 8 times, 10 times.
I sympathize with them, but then we are still pleading with them that there is light at the end of the tunnel, and that they should just stay a little bit more. That will happen.
All right.
That will happen. And
thank you.
So
those are your final words.
Professionals have been traveling from this country to seek greener pastures outside our shores.
Since time immemorial.
That's it.
But I'll tell you for a fact
we
that
used
with
to
the
talk
nurses
about,
now, trust me, it's a very dangerous situation.
Wait.
It's a very delicate
We used
situation.
to talk about brain drain. Now we are talking about brain gain. During the debates...
they gain and we drain.
Now we're talking about brain gain. So during the 2023 budget debate on the floor, the Minister for Health, during his debate, indicated that they are working on a bilateral agreement with the British government to export nurses to those jurisdictions. He made that on the floor.
Isn't the bit about a token being given so that for each person they take, they give you a token?
You don't have enough to cover your health facilities here already.
When I was heading National Accreditation Board, we were giving accreditation to nursing institutions and other tertiary education institutions. The nurse-to-patient ratio, we were going beyond the UN average. That's it. So we could.
Now we are no longer there. Let's face the fact. We are not there now.
No, I'm saying that when I was there, that was the threshold. So we were even thinking of diversifying the nursing program.
Let's come to the present. That is no longer relevant.
No, the point I'm saying, no, the point I'm saying is that there's a policy by government saying that should be the way to go. I remember either in Barbados or Guyana, we were sending nurses there. So they are going. That is fair. For me, I'm looking for a policy that we put in place to realize that where Ghana is going to benefit from
David
that.
Ajayi,
I don't know the details about that matter, but as we did say, innocent until proven guilty. Some of these things might be allegations and accusations, but probably when he defends himself, he might come out clean. So I wouldn't be prejudgmental on something that has happened without having further evidence.
Gentlemen, I'm very grateful for your time. In fact, Prof, thank you for coming. Kofi, thank you for coming. Members of Parliament, Kofi Adams, MP Buem on the NDC side, also Member of Parliament Kwada, so Professor Kingsley Nyako on the MPP side. Both of them joined us for a conversation this morning on the AM show. We've been talking about a number of issues. We can't exhaust everything. But there's a crucial issue you want to stay for. Around the Ebri stretch, you would, if you use that stretch, and I do from time to time, you would see the number of buildings dotted across up there. And some pretty prominent people, I'll not mention names, own buildings there. But now, some of the rocks, the sand, tumbling right onto the road. Where do we go from here? Because there are those nets or so supposed to catch them, but with buildings on top, I don't know what the next step is. Maybe you could help us, but you need to join us for that conversation up next on the AM show. We'll be right back.